Hello and welcome to my channel. Thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Mela, or Black Daisies, and today I am building a pretty special house in The Sims. So as you know by now, The Sims 4 Island Living has been released, and honestly I am living for it. It is easily one of my favorite expansion packs. Just for the island of Sulani alone. Whether it's the top EP for me remains to be seen, but I have had a lot of fun building and running around with my Sims. I am so in love with this world, Sulani. It looks to be based off of Pacific Islands and Polynesian culture. Looking at the world at a glance, you could clearly see that. There are 3 different neighborhoods, Oanali Town, Lani St. Taz, and Muapelam, representing different aspects of island living. Excuse me about my pronunciation, I'm so sorry about that. But as it goes with The Sims, it does look like the dev team has created an amalgamation of different cultures and styles, and instead of sticking with one particular culture, they decided to go with a bunch of different ones. You could see that they've done that with other neighborhoods in previous expansion packs too, and that's totally fine. I like to think that The Sims are not rooted in the real human world that we're familiar with, and they've got their own mini world going on. So in saying that, I've kind of decided to base my Sulani on my homeland of the Philippines. So I'm going to go into a little bit about the Philippines here, so please bear with me, because in order to explain this build, I kind of have to go into the history of my home country. The Philippines is an archipelago in the Pacific that's just at the edge of the Ring of Fire. So there are volcanoes, the flora is tropical, and the people do have the same roots, supposedly, as modern-day Polynesians. In fact, speaking of the people, if you're not up on Filipino or even world history, about the 16th century, Ferdinand Magellan, who is famous for being the first to circumnavigate the world, that is kind of a big deal, he arrived on the islands and started Hispanic colonization. And no, the natives did not like that. They promptly killed him when Magellan and the troops attempted to convert them to Christianity. So anyway, about 20 years later, the archipelago was named in honor of a Spanish prince, and so it goes, the Philippines became what it is today. So I bring this up because the Philippines is an interesting blend of different cultures. In addition to the original Filipinos, there are Chinese influences, Indian, Spanish, and this was one thing I didn't know. We even had Mexican culture in there, which I learned recently, and it does make sense. Many of the Spanish galleons did come in from Acapulco, and later on, American culture. And obviously this is a super simplified explanation of the ethnicities and cultures of the island, but it did need to bring it up again. Like I said, I needed to explain this build. So the build that I'm showing off today, as I mentioned, is a special build to me because I'm going back to my roots. I'm building a Filipino-style historical house called the Bahay na Bato, which translates to House of Stone, or Stone House. This style of house is sort of a throwback to the original Bahay Kubo. However, as the name implies, they were made from stone and brick instead of nipa and bamboo. I haven't been back to the Philippines since I left as a baby, unfortunately, so I haven't had the privilege of visiting any of any of the ancestral homes. So I did have to rely on a lot of pictures and YouTube videos for research. The house I'm building isn't based on a specific ancestral home. I'm hoping that I got the idea down, at least sort of. So typical indigenous houses in the Philippines were built on villages alongside waterways, just like any other human civilizations worldwide. And the islands, you know, they're prone to a lot of different fun meteorological events. So you got volcanoes, earthquakes, mudslides, you have monsoons, flooding, and these houses were built to withstand that. So when the Spaniards came in, eventually, you know, a few hundreds of years later, they introduced building with more permanent materials, and of course they introduced their particular style. However, traditional European homes, they weren't too practical for the climate and the flora, and the terrain, sorry. So they took the concepts from the Bahay Kubo, which were the original nipa hut bamboo type houses that you could see all over Sulani actually, and they developed what is known as the Bahay na Bato. As I said before, that's a fun word to say, or it's actually 3 words, but yeah. The main defining characteristic is the living spaces on the upper floors. Like I said, this helps avoid flooding. So of course, like, you know, Yeah, so the lower spaces were usually left as storage spaces or livestock stalls. The richer families typically would have more ornate homes and finer building materials, and again you'll see influences from Spain, China, India, Indonesia, later on even American Victorian home influences, and you know I love Victorian homes. So this one isn't going to be a museum piece. I was kind of tempted to do that, but instead I wanted to build a house that has been renovated and modernized for a current Sims family. I wanted to go with the Sulani idea of family and community in my build, so I've decided that there won't be any sprawling private mansions in Sulani. So all my builds will be based around modest families and community lots. I will say that this lot comes in at about 150,000 simoleons, so it's not a starter home, but I hope that it's still cozy and welcoming. And again, I didn't want to create a museum with objects and furniture that looked untouchable. I wanted to create a living home that people could come in, they could rest, they could visit, they could enjoy life basically. I think I have all the elements of a bahay na bato here, but like most of the homes like this in modern times, I've made the lower space a little bit more functional. Nowadays, the lower spaces, they get turned into like, you know, garages or storefronts, like retail storefronts. But there's a bathroom, there's an extra bedroom below. And you could use that bedroom maybe for a butler or guest. There's a study and there's an entertainment place with a bar and a card table. And I imagine whoever owns a lot has done some renovations and now they're currently working on the lower spaces. So it is a little bit unfinished, but purposefully so, just for aesthetics. But of course, whoever downloads a lot could do whatever they like with those spaces too. The upper level has the sala, or the living room, a sitting room, a dining space, the kitchen, and 2 bedrooms. They're not too ornate. Like I said, I was going for cozy and comfortable, but of course there are a lot of outdoor spaces, and I definitely wanted to add a pool and a lush garden. And even like, you know, a growing garden too, so you could grow whatever you fruits or vegetables that you like in there. The kitchen alongside the rest of the living area is on the 2nd floor, and for this, again, I didn't want to go too traditional with the kitchen or too antique. I decided maybe the current owners had just taken everything and just renovated everything. I really wanted to take advantage of the new kitchen stuff too, and the cabinets. So I added those in there. I mean, it still has a little bit of that style, of course, but it's all functional. It all works correctly. There's running water, that kind of thing. And you know, the countertops are modern and clean and nice and all that fun stuff too. So that's the idea of the kitchen. So yeah, I absolutely love this build. I really hope I got it right, but you could let me know in the comments what I can add or improve on. It's definitely not going to be the last Filipino house that I'll build for Sulani, so look out for those in the gallery under my ID, Belle Daisies, or my website at sims.blackdaisies.com. This build will definitely be posted there. It'll be in the gallery, there'll be tray files available and more screenshots. And I'll make sure to add the links below in the yeah, so just let me know if there's anything that you think that I could improve on here. I'm always open to suggestions or feedback. And thank you again for coming by and sticking through the speed build and my super simplified explanation of Filipino culture. Enjoy the rest of the video and let me know what you think in the comments. Like and subscribe for sure if you want to see more. Maraming salamat. Thank you very much and have a good one. Bye!